whether we messed up in a game or coach yelled at us or we got cut from a team or our parents said some one-off comment, in our minds, we create a meaning and we assign the meaning to whatever that thing was. And man, if we don't have a coach in our life to help us reframe that meaning and question that meaning and change that meaning, then it leads to, event happens, then the meaning is created in our mind, and usually we don't even get to choose that meaning. And then after the meaning is created, our actions are dictated by whatever that meaning was.
I am so excited today for today's episode about mindset coaching. When considering mindset coaching for youth athletes, there is one name that always comes to mind over and over again, and that is Andrew Simpson, my guest today. I've known Andrew for a few years now, and I have always admired him and the work that he does. He's the founder of Players Fitness and Performance in Maryland and the creator of the Winning Mindset Formula Mindset Coaching Program. He recently partnered with Todd Durkin to create the Get Your Mind Right Mindset Coaching Certification for coaches, trainers, and fitness professionals, and is going to be certifying mindset coaches across the country. Andrew describes his approach as love-centered coaching from the heart so that athletes can blossom from the inside out and ultimately reach their full potential. He's the author of 4 books on this topic. I've read them all and honored to have been a contributor to one of them. And if you spend any time with him at all, you know that he's a devoted father and husband. Welcome, Andrew. Happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So let's start off with just some overview on mindset coaching. So explain how a mindset coach is different from a sports psychologist.
Yep. So practically, a sports psychologist is able to diagnose mental health conditions, whereas a mindset coach is not able to do that. I would say a lot of the outcomes that a mindset coach can produce are similar to what a sports psychologist can produce. But again, we cannot go into diagnosing any kind of mental health conditions. That's the main difference.
Gotcha. That's an important difference too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, absolutely. So again, considering the state of youth sports today, right? So there are a lot of pressures on young athletes, more than we've probably ever seen before. Explain the role of a mindset coach for a youth athlete. So we see it in collegiate level athletes, we see it in professional athletes. Why is this important for youth athletes?
The younger, the better. I mean, I just met with a young lady this morning who is an athlete playing down in the IMG Academy, so high level. It's all sports. I actually just found out today that they spend 2 hours on school per day and then the rest on sports. I would have loved that when I was back in high school, right? It would have been amazing. But that's case in point, it just adds to the pressure because it clearly shows that sports are the most important thing in life. So I really don't love that, to be honest with you. I would have loved it personally, but I think that it just leads to even more pressure for these athletes. I mean, the role of a mindset coach for these athletes is simple. We're meaning makers and meaning changers. I mean, athletes there's something that happens to all of us whenever an event occurs, right? Maybe we get yelled at by a coach. Maybe our parents ask us a question that they weren't meaning to put pressure on us, but they say something like, so how are you doing in your sports? Like something little like that. And what happens is whether we messed up in a game or coach yelled at us or we got cut from a team or our parents said some one-off comment, in our minds, we create a meaning and we assign the meaning to whatever that thing was. And man, if we don't have a coach in our life to help us reframe that meaning and question that meaning and change that meaning, then it leads to, event happens, then the meaning is created in our mind, and usually we don't even get to choose that meaning. And then after the meaning is created, our actions are dictated by whatever that meaning was. I'll give you an example. This young lady that I was just meeting with hours ago, her mother has been talking to her about this upcoming prospect day that she has at a big university, tons of D1 coaches there, and her mom's been talking to her about it nonstop. And her mom said, well, if you don't show up at this one, then another college is going to write you off, and then what happens? Here's the reality. There's 4 D1 schools that have told this girl, hey, this probably isn't the right fit for you. and she's about to go to a fifth one. And how many colleges, do you know how many D1 colleges there are in the United States of America?
A lot.
There's hundreds.
Yeah.
And so, in this girl's mind, her mother's words meant that if she doesn't perform well on Thursday this week, then D1's off the table for her. And I asked her the same question I just asked you. I said, how
Hmm.
many colleges are there in the US? Right? She said 400. She said, I don't know, 400. So I said, okay, so by focusing on the four, the meaning that you're saying in your mind is that it's over for you. You don't have a shot anymore. But when you focus on the 400, then this Thursday just becomes practice for the next 396 that are out there,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so again, as a mindset coach, our role is to change, to just to question what the athlete is thinking and feeling, because great thoughts lead to great actions and great actions lead to great results. But if we don't get the great thoughts right, then eventually our results are going to suffer. So I just love
Sure.
the idea of mindset coaching. I started out as an athletic performance specialist, just
Right.
like you, right? Strength and conditioning. And I love that too. But man, once I realized that these athletes could be the fastest, strongest, most talented players in the world, yet still never reach their full potential if they don't get it between the ears right,
Hmm.
then I realized that mindset coaching is a pretty essential element to this whole thing.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I mean, without question. So this podcast is about teenage girl athletes, right? So have you noticed any specific differences between mindset coaching sessions with a teenage girl athlete versus a teenage boy athlete?
Yes and no. Girls and guys are obviously completely different specimens, right? Different, completely different in so many ways. Um, but I have found, and so I'll explain the differences, but from a similarity standpoint, I think that every teenage kid who plays sports nowadays is just looking to be heard, right? So, instead of the coach or the parent saying, hey, you did this wrong, or hey, you need to do this differently, we just need to ask them questions like, hey, what are you feeling? What's going on in your mind? How are you perceiving this upcoming showcase? Like, we just need to give them space. And so they're similar in that sense. Um, I'm hesitant to say that girls are more emotional because guys have a lot of emotions too. They just don't show them as easily. So I will say though that out of all the athletes that I do mindset coaching with, about 80% are female. And so I think that that tells me, number one, they're maybe more open to it and humble enough to admit that they might need some help in this area. But then also B, you could say that they need it more, right? The pressures for these girls are higher. Social media maybe hits them a little bit harder. They're the way that and I do think that the female is naturally a little bit more emotional. So when a male coach yells at her, or when dad puts a little bit too much pressure on her, I think that the way that it impacts a female, a young male might be able to brush it off a little faster in most cases, not completely, but I think that that might be true, whereas the girl holds on to that a little bit tighter. And so that's what we need to be aware of, I would say.
Yeah, that's actually really good insight. I'll say, as the mom of a
That's
girl,
right.
teenage girl athlete, right? And then, of course, all the experience I have. I mean, I work with girls every single day, so that's I say you're spot on. That's a really good insight right there, for sure.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the most common emotional or mental challenges that you see in the girls that you work with?
So I think about like these young female athletes like in different categories, right? There's the driven, hungry female athlete who is like just wants to succeed so bad and is willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And
Hmm.
those are the ones that tend to have more of the perfectionistic tendencies. If it's not perfect or if they don't get all of the offers, then they're not good enough, right? So the perfection of like, if I'm not perfect, then I'm not worthy, right? I think that's something that pops up big time for the highly driven one. But maybe for the girl who, doesn't have that same drive, right? She loves sports. She wants to compete. She wants to be passionate. She wants to have her mental health, all those things. I think that the challenge sometimes with her is comparison to the girl that is that, right? Because not every athlete is destined for college sports or for the next level. And I think in our society, we believe that if you play sports, your path should end up as a college athlete. And it's like, dude, like not everyone's meant for this. Trust me, like college sports are no joke, and
Yeah.
98% of them don't get paid. So there's really like you just do the
Yeah.
paying, right? And so
Right.
so I think that there's that other type of girl who, maybe she does feel pressure from mom or dad or from society to be that. And so therefore she compares herself to that girl who is that, even though she's not that.
Hmm.
And for her, we have to help guide her towards her unique giftedness and her passions, whether she's the star or not.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I see um there's so many lessons that can be learned in sports, and like you made a great point. It's like not everybody's destined to go on and play in college, or compete or whatever sport you're in. Um, but to be able to help them see that the lessons that they're taking and learning from playing sports in high school are going to apply to so many other aspects of their life
Hmm.
beyond their sports career, because it will most likely end in high school, right?
Yeah,
I mean, most of them don't go on to play in college. Um, but those benefits and the things that they get from those years in high school are are critical, and they really carry over to so many other aspects of of life. So
absolutely. Yep,
that actually kind
absolutely.
of like this is a good segue, because the topic that I'm very interested in is burnout, because there's a stat that stuck with me years ago when I first really started diving deep into working with girls in particular. And that is around the age of 14, girls quit playing the sports that they've played their entire lives at a rate that is two times that of boys at the same age. And so we go into why, what are the reasons why they quit, and what can we do about it? And there have been some things that have been done to help address the issues that are kind of driving girls away from sports. So we see that in terms of the research. But when it comes to like metal meets the road, right? Like you're this is still happening, and I think that burnout is a big part of it.
Mhm.
And I know that that's something that's significant when it comes to mindset coaching, is like just that issue in particular. And, so obviously like some warning signs, if you would, can speak to that, if you see any warning signs for burnout, what we can do about burnout, and then
Yep.
just why it's so important, why we feel so strongly that it's important to put that time in your high school years. You don't have to do it after, but those lessons that you learn from doing this in high school, the sacrifices that you make as a teenager, what you
Yep.
gain from that going forward, and how that can impact the rest of your life. I
Yep.
just that's just it's a topic that I'm very interested in, because I'm
Yeah,
desperately
yeah.
trying to keep these girls playing sports, not so they
That's
can be
right.
rock stars, but just because there's so many benefits to it, you know?
Yep. Yep. 100%. So I'm guessing you've got a lot of parents and coaches that listen to your podcast. And so we can all, as adults, like what causes us to burn out? We can start there. Sometimes it's just like it's not actually burnout. We just need a good night's rest, right? Sometimes like we get in our heads and in the moment, right? The law of recency, I think it is where like you start to feel a certain way, but it's like, wait a second, if I just got a good night's sleep, tomorrow I might wake up and feel way better. And it might be like you need a week off, right? So maybe these athletes they just don't have a rhythm of rest. They just blend from one season into the next. They go from one practice to the next. They don't have what I call a Sabbath, or some people might call a true day of rest, right? For the week, right? Where they don't play sports. It's funny. I was talking with a girl yesterday, and I was like, "So, do you have any time off throughout the week where you're not playing sports?" She's like, "Yeah, yes. Sunday or what was it? Fridays for her actually. Yeah, Fridays. I don't have any practice. I don't have any games." I said, "So what do you do on that day?" She said, "Well, my parents really want me to do my softball. It was a softball player, so my soft toss or whatever, like into the wall." I was like, "So you play softball on your Friday day off. Got it. Okay, so you have no time where you're actually craving to get back onto the field." And in one of my books, I actually write about a girl that came to me who tore her ACL, and I think she tore it a second time. And after the second time, she had all this time off, 5, 6 months off of rest. She came back pretty quickly the second time, and she told me, she said, Andrew, she said, man, I had no idea how much I was going to miss it because she had never taken time off. And so she was forced to take time off because of the injury. But man, she just didn't take time off. So I think that obviously, if you're losing passion, that's a sign, a red flag that you're burning out. And you might just need to rest a little bit. And you might need a coach or somebody to help you implement a true rhythm and schedule of rest. Otherwise, you're just going to go based on, oh, well, all my other teammates are on playing for this club team. So I was going to take this season off, but I'm not anymore because they're all playing, or, so I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
I think another element could be, and this shows up sometimes, you're burnt out because you actually, like as an adult, sometimes we're just no longer doing the right things, right? If you get burnt out from your career, that might be a sign that it's time to pivot and do something else. But what do we do sometimes? We hold on to things for way too long for fear of whatever. We're going to miss out. We're going to regret it. We're going to, the grass isn't going to be greener, so I'm going to stay with this thing. Fear of being judged. Like I worked with another athlete who, they knew that it was time for them to move on to a new team, but they thought they were going to be judged by one single person on that team who was a friend of theirs. It was one person, and they realized finally that they were just so scared of being judged by that person that they stayed on a course that was no longer serving their future goals and purpose for fear of judgment by one person who had influence in their life. So, like, sometimes we burn out because we are just on a course that we no longer should be, right? It's time to move on, whether it's quit playing that sport completely or go on a new team, which kind of leads to a third thing that leads to burnout, which is you're no longer being challenged, right? And so you're on a team that again is maybe just the team that you've played for your whole career, and you know that you're being called to a higher level and a bigger goal, but you've got these smaller goals or this team that isn't serving those goals anymore. And so sometimes that leads to burnout. And those are three of the big ones. I mean, there's some other ones as well that lead to burnout, but I think if all of us were to pause for just a brief second and ask, like, what are the warning signs of burnout? We'd be able to find them within ourselves because we've all been there before, right? We all
Yeah.
know what it feels like. And here's a great way to find out if your athlete is burning out. You ask the question, are you feeling burnt out at all? Like just just ask them, right?
Yeah.
And that would open the door because I think a lot of athletes are scared to admit it. They're going to sound
Yeah.
weak, right? They're going to
Right.
they think that you might think that they're not committed anymore. It's like, no, you're just human. You just need to recharge your batteries a little bit. We're meant to sprint and then rest, sprint and then rest. So those
Sure.
are some of my thoughts around burnout.
That's probably a question that they've never been asked before either,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like
Yep.
their team coach is probably not going to ask them that. They're worried about, progressing and getting better and all these other things. They're not going to ask if their player is burned out.
Yeah, and I think that that's too, like it reveals something because earlier on as a leader of employees and having team members that work for us, I was scared to ask team members that question, even though I knew that that might be what they were feeling. I was
Yeah.
scared to ask them that. I would think that that was going to like lead to them wanting to leave, but in
Right.
fact, it's the opposite. It
Huh.
builds more loyalty because they're like,
Sure.
oh, this leader is different. They get me. So
Yeah.
this coach is different. Like they get me. They're not. I'm not scared anymore to tell them how I'm feeling. Like just yeah, ask the question. Hey, are you feeling burnt out? It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay to feel
Hmm.
that way. Are you feeling burnt out? Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some thoughts.
That's fantastic. Um, One of the things with girls that I see a lot, and it ties in with a topic that I talk a lot about, it's nutrition. Um,
Hmm.
Talking to girls about nutrition, talking to teenage girls about nutrition is not for the weak of heart, right? The faint of heart. It can be a really touchy topic to tackle, honestly. Um, and a lot of times parents don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So they ask, coaches, like I've been asked a lot, can
Yeah.
you talk to her about this? Can you talk to her about this? And I mean, I at this point, I'm comfortable doing it, so I'll talk about it. But I do think that that's another issue. I would see that as, an issue when it comes to mindset coaching is like how to go about talking about this topic and other topics that could be uncomfortable for girls to discuss with an adult who they know somewhat, who's not, not a parent or not a family member, but somebody who they trust and they have a relationship with. But that's something that Have you had any issues with that in terms of body image and making, having that conversation, that hard conversation around nutrition and what they're
Yeah.
eating?
Yeah, I mean, tell me if this is how you see it, but I feel like that is 100% a mindset issue. Most athletes, they roughly know, like, if I'm restricting my calories and I am not eating anything, like a female athlete, like if I'm like barely eating anything, like they know that's probably not healthy for them. So it's got to be a mindset issue, right? And what
Mm-hmm.
is mindset? It's when your mind is set on something. And so a girl who is not eating enough or is purging her food or whatever, like just doesn't like the way she looks, her mind is set on something that is likely untrue, a lie that society has been telling her, right? You are going to be beautiful and you are this if you look this way. And I think that a great coach will come alongside of that girl and ask the question, what do you believe about the way you look? And do you think that that's the truth, or is there the potential that that could be a lie that you're believing? Right. And it's like, let's press into it. Let's talk about that. And again, like kind of like the burnout thing, like opening the door for it. I'm sure that girls are probably a lot more comfortable talking about these things with you than their parents. And I don't know exactly why kids would not be comfortable talking with their parents about it. It all depends on the relationship. But we've had many instances in PFP where we open the door for that discussion, and then it leads to communication between the parent and the young lady about these issues. So I think that coaches could at least open the door because the athlete will likely talk to them first before mom or dad.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. So obviously like body image is a concern that I think girls are, that's top of the, probably more girls are interested in or concerned with body image than boys. Um,
Yeah.
how about this concept that their self-worth is tied to their performance?
Hmm.
And I have this theory that we've put a lot on our girls, right? You know,
Yeah.
my generation, we were told, you're equal to boys. Don't listen to that. You're just as smart as boys. You're equal to boys. This generation does not need to hear that. Like they know, they don't need to be like if I told my, girls like, oh, you're equal to boys, they'd be like, of course, why would I not be? But that was something
Yeah.
that we were told, But for them though, it's like they know they're equal to boys, but to try to tie their self-worth to their athletic performance when their athletic performance is going to be a little different than it is for boys. I mean, there's a different type of strength that girls have than excel in versus boys. And if you see them like go head to head, it's like a boy's probably going to be stronger than a girl, and that's just a physiological fact, right?
Yep.
But I see these, especially the ultra competitive girls, like really try to push themselves, and it's like my concern would be tying their self-worth to their athletic performance.
Yep. I mean, honestly, why are we shocked that athletes tie their self-worth to their performance? Like, I mean, it's what we emphasize, it's what we talk about all the time, it's what we pay them for, it's what we give them scholarships for, like, we show through our questions, our actions, the things that we get passionate about. Like, we teach them to tie their self-worth to their performance at the end of the day. And I'm not shaming anybody or saying anyone's wrong. Like it's just like we do need to start. Like so, for example, today alone, I had two mindset sessions, and I spent the majority of both of those sessions talking about their legacy. These girls that are getting ready to go on to college to play sports. Hey, what do you want your legacy to be about? By the end of your sports career, what story do you want to tell about the type of teammate you were, the type of player you were, how you showed up under adversity? And they're like looking at me like I got three heads. Like, what do you like? I've never been asked these questions before. All I'm asked is, what is your batting average? Or have you applied to these schools yet? Or have you sent out your game film yet? And again, you have to do those things to reach your goals. I know we do, but man, it's just cool because the reason why mindset coaching works is because we allocate money, but then time and energy and resources towards things that get them to not tie their self-worth ultimately to their performance. So I asked these girls, like, what's your legacy going to be about? And it's kind of cool because like they got into a little rhythm. I want to be known as somebody who showed up for my teammates, who was an encourager. I want to be known as, what did the girls say this morning? I want to be known as somebody who kept a positive attitude and worked hard no matter how my performance was. So it's like the opposite of self-worth being tied to performance, right?
The revelation that she was actually talking about things that were not tied to her athletic performance. And,
Yep.
I'm assuming you're like the opportunity to actually talk about these things was something different for her.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so cool. And the simplest thing that we teach our athletes around self-worth, we give them a definition. Uh, the worst definition of self-worth ever is my personal performance plus the opinions of other people equal self-worth. Like that's the ultimate out of your control, worst definition ever. And that's precisely the definition for most people, right? It's like whatever other people say about me, how good I am, how smart I am, how talented I am, how successful I am, plus my own performance and my assessment of my performance. That's what I'm going to base my self-worth on. And so
Mm-hmm.
we teach athletes like let's talk about the things that are within your control 100%. Like you are worthy because you are created. You are a human being. You have worth uh, uh, in and of itself. And so let's put your self-worth, let's tie it to something that is unchanging, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
that's the self-worth thing. It's a
I,
loaded conversation though, that's for sure.
no. Yeah, for sure. All right. One more topic on this social media. Oh gosh, like where do you
Oh
even
yeah.
begin with that one, right? I mean, that's tied to everything, truly. It's tied into your self-worth. It's tied into your social concerns and, performance anxiety and all this other kind of stuff. Um, just how do you even begin to tackle that topic with teenage girl athletes?
hmm I mean, so the simple things that aren't actually common sense that I think that they're like second nature for people, but we still need to do the basics, like unfollowing anyone that causes you to feel anxious or compare yourself to them, like just like get the temptation away, right? Just like stop following those people. Limiting screen time. Definitely don't look at screens or be on social media the day of a game or a performance. Like, like don't do that. And these are like simple things that I'm like, oh, everyone knows these things, but most athletes they don't even consider it, right? It's like that they're and the reason why is because it is such an addiction. I mean, you see an athlete who comes out of a practice, it's like an addict. Or even a person that comes out of a meeting, let's say, where you can't have your cell phones. Like as soon as you get out of that meeting, you're like, where's my
First thing you
where's my
do.
cell phone?
Yep.
Where's my cell phone? Like it's like
Hmm.
that, like it's like a smoker. Like they can't wait to get their
Yeah.
like cigarette, right? It's like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh. And so it's such an addiction that you do have to put up systems in your life and structures to be able to account for the things that you actually don't have power to do yourself, right? Or at least or willpower. Willpower with cell phones, it doesn't really work. Like
Yeah.
that's where I think that parents like they'll that parents would probably pay for mindset coaches if the mindset coaches alone would get their kids to be on social media less, which I think we can do. So that's that's that. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts around
No.
social media?
Yeah.
I'm curious, especially with the young females. How do you talk to them about it?
Gosh, it's just a topic that's hard to even come up with because you can say these things, and at the end of the day, they're still, you know, between rounds in a workout, grab the phone real quick. I'm like, come
Yeah,
on, y'all, let's go. I mean, short of like just making, hard and fast rules, like you have to turn your phone off when you walk past that door, you know, and then they're, oh, I got to get in touch with mom or this or that, that kind of thing. Um,
yeah,
I think the best thing we can try to do is model the behavior and acknowledge too. It's like,
100%,
it's not easy to put down the phone, right? As an adult, I find it difficult to put down my phone sometimes. And so
100%.
why would I expect that it's easy? I'll go, well, just put it down. Expect my teenager to be able to do that, or those kids
Yeah,
that come in. It's like you have to acknowledge that first. It's like take a look in the mirror and try to model the behavior that you want to
yeah.
see, you know?
Yeah, I will say that when the pain threshold is reached and you tie that in with cell phone usage, athletes do change, sometimes temporarily, but they do change, right? And so,
Hmm.
I had a high-level college softball player I was working with, and man, she was struggling with presence at the plate. Like she was like, I am just not present. I cannot be locked in, and I'm striking out left and right, and I'm about to lose my starting spot. And So the fear of the pain of losing her starting spot became so great that when I asked her, I said, "Hey, what do you think social media is designed to do to your attention span?" She's like, I mean, I guess shorten it. I'm like, yeah, you scroll fast, right? Like 1.5 seconds, then you scroll, or maybe even less than 1.5 seconds now. Like you scroll, scroll,
Yeah.
scroll. And so you're training your brain to not focus and not be present. You're always at the next thing. And so I said, if that's true and you're struggling with presence at the plate, do you think that maybe stopping social media for a period of time would be a good experiment to see if you can actually be more present at the plate? Because right now, again, you're training yourself to not be present in life. So why would you be present at the plate? And that was enough for her to be like, boom, done with social media. She took
Yeah.
all social media off her phone for 30 days, and then she
Wow.
introduced one platform back in after that because again, it was like, well, I need to connect with people. It's like, no, you
Yeah.
don't, but I get it, right? Right. So that was that. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So let's talk a few tools and techniques. So if there was out there, parents of girls are listening right now, or coaches are listening. The girls themselves have told me they don't do podcasts, but their parents do and their coaches do. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I was like, well, that's the truth, right? Um, but if you could suggest like two or three mindset techniques that any coach or parent could employ without adding pressure or having to go down a rabbit hole of learning all kinds of different things, just something that is effective and quick, what would you say?
I mean, the first one is if coaches are not employing some sort of a reset routine or a bounce back routine, there's different words for it, a mistake ritual, something like a tool that the athlete can personalize to themselves that helps them to bounce back after they're losing focus or bounce back after they make a mistake. And it's three simple components. The first piece is you help the athlete identify what is a word, a reset word that you will say to yourself as soon as, again, I mean, you make a mistake, you lose focus, you're not performing well. Anytime your mindset is off, we need a word that's going to help you to forget about the past that you can no longer change. Right? We have to remember you cannot change the past. You can only influence the future. And so, what's a word you're going to say to yourself that would trigger that for you, that would remind yourself of that? So words like move on, next play, next, dominate, I've got this, focus, release, like you're releasing a mistake. There's a bunch of different words that we give as examples for our athletes. And so, boom, you pick the word, but then a word alone, it will help because self-talk does help athletes, bounce back quickly, especially if they have a good word that's meaningful. But when you combine that word with a movement, a body movement or a hand signal, it takes the thought and connects it to the body. So you don't just think the thought, you actually feel it, right? I ask athletes all the time, would you rather think confident thoughts or feel confident? And they always say, like, I'd rather feel it, right? And so the hand signal, so
Yeah.
step one is reset word. Step two is hand signal. I mean, it could be a hand to the fist. You could clap once, you could clap twice, snap your fingers, open and close your hands, pat your head. I mean, there's a million things you could do with your hands. But the best hand signal is one that pairs well with the word. So if the word is release, if you're saying to yourself, you just made a mistake, you're like, release, release, release. Opening and closing your hands is a great representation of that. If your
Mm-hmm.
word is dominate, because you're better at the aggressive stuff, well, boom, hand to the fist, powerful, hand to the fist, dominate, and it gets you focusing on what's ahead. And then you tie it all together with a deep breath as you're doing it, because the deep breath is the universal way to relax. So that's one. That's a simple tool. It's a reset tool. And so it's those three elements, the word, the hand signal, the deep breath. It's a fun workshop style thing that a coach could do with all of their players. I know you know how to teach that as well. So hit up Sarah. She'll teach you how to do it with your sports team. And then I would say another one that's it's underutilized because coaches, I think a lot of coaches believe that having a team goal is enough, right? Like our goal is to win the championship this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I just heard Nick Saban, best
Mm-hmm.
college coach in history, arguably, right, for Alabama. I just heard him give a talk at a leadership summit last week, and he shared that one of the secrets to their success is that he was very passionate about helping each individual player have a vision for how how their college career would help their goals, right? Having a vision for themselves. And so he would ask them, right, like, what is your vision for your college career? What do you want out of this? And I think a lot of coaches think that that breeds selfishness in their players. But again, it just breeds that my coach is for me and he wants me to have a great experience, not just to help him get what he wants, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that helping your players set goals, simple as it sounds, individual goals. So a what, a why, and then a how. So what
Mm-hmm.
is your goal? Why do you really want it? And then how are you going to get it? And then coming alongside of them and checking in with them on those goals. Another simple tool that
Yeah,
coaches I think are underutilizing.
that's super useful. Truly, like that's right there, gold. Absolutely. So let's talk about the future of mindset coaching.
Mm.
Where is this going? Right? I mean, we're kind of on the cusp of it. It's not something that you're seeing a ton of right now, but I mean, you live it, right? But what's the future? Like, let's say, look 10 years into the future. What do you see for mindset coaches?
It's just going to become more and more needed and normal. You know, let's say one out of every 20 athletes right now has a mindset coach. I don't know if that's the real statistic. I'm just making it up, but it's going to be cut in half, right? It's going to be one out of every 10. It's just because, and the reason why we know that for sure is because, well, either the athlete is going to go to a therapist or a counselor or maybe, like we said, a sports psychologist, and they're going to go that route to talk about their challenges, talk about their issues, and that's good, and that might be helpful. Or they're going to go to a mindset coach who has a sports background, who gets them, who knows what it's like to be an athlete, knows the struggles of an athlete, can relate to them and what they do and why they care about sports, and then has strategies and solutions to help them move forward towards their sports related dreams and goals. I mean, like you said earlier, social media, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to continue to challenge and in some ways hurt our athletes' mental focus, mindset. And then, yeah, just the growing nature of sports popularity, the money involved, NIL, right? All these things. Again, where we put our money and our attention as adults, the athletes, the young kids, they see that and then they want to strive for it, sometimes at their own expense. And so I think mindset coaching is just going to become a normal thing, and it's going to be something that every athlete needs if they want to not just reach their full potential, but also stay healthy and happy along the way.
Absolutely. And that segues right into you. So you created a mindset coaching certification, and then you partnered with Todd Durkin to create a mindset coaching certification. And you guys are in the process of launching that right now. Or I guess not, it's launched of,
Yeah.
you're in the thick of it right now. So if there's any coaches out there who
Yeah.
are interested, what should they do? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the website is gymrcoaching.com. And so
Mm-hmm.
that tells you everything about the certification. As of right now, depending on when this is podcast episodes released, it is like the cost of it is unbelievably affordable compared to every other mindset certification you could find out there. And even when the price goes up, it's still going to be affordable compared to,
Mm-hmm.
again, most out there. And so this is a self-paced content-based course. There is a community element as well. You're part of that, Sarah, where there's,
Mm-hmm.
now 40 plus other mindset coaches that are striving for the same thing, that really care about making an impact in these athletes' lives beyond just sport. And so there's a community element, but then the content alone, it's all self-paced. You go through it and then you apply it at your own pace. It's actionable things for sports coaches of teams. How do you apply this before a practice? How do you apply it at halftime of a game? How do you apply it in a one-to-one setting with an athlete? We teach all those things in this certification. It's called the Get Your Mind Right Mindset Coaching Certification.
Yeah, and I will say I am in the process of working my way through that certification, and content's fantastic. So I mean, highly recommend it. If anybody is interested, it really is, it's fantastic. I wish I had more hours to sit down and pour into it at a time, right? I wish I had more time to sit and go through more of it instead of like taking it one module at a time, because
Yeah.
it's engaging content, it's useful content, it really is fantastic. I can't say enough great things about that. Well, so you can go to it's gymr gymrcoaching.com is it?
gymrcoaching.com.
And we will add all this into the show notes. And what if anybody wants to follow you in particular, Andrew? Where can we follow you?
Yeah, Instagram, it's Coach Andrew Simpson. So at Coach Andrew Simpson. I'm on Facebook as well, but yeah, Instagram's a great place to start. And then andrewjsimpson.com is my website.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Andrew. This has been a great conversation about some topics that are near and dear to my heart, I know for sure, working with girls. And I think a lot of parents and coaches are going to get a lot out of hearing what you have to say when it comes to mindset coaching and teenage girl athletes.
Well, I'm thankful for you. It's truly an iron sharpens iron thing because every time I see your stuff, every time I see your podcast episodes drop, your passion to impact these athletes keeps me, keeps other coaches just sharp and focused on how do we get better, right? How do we get better as coaches? So thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.